Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Everything You Need to Know About Managed Services. My name is Emily Venable, and I'm the Solutions Manager here at OnPar Technologies, and I will be your host for today's event. So before we begin, just a few quick little housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded for quality and reproduction purposes, so all attendees will be on mute throughout the webinar. Secondly, if you cannot see the screen I am presenting, please click on the link inside of the invite that you received and choose to use the Skype web app to be able to view the presentation. Third, you can ask any questions you want throughout the webinar by using the chat feature on the meeting. By clicking on the comments icon at the bottom left of your screen, and my colleagues will be available to answer your questions. That includes Donna Hall, our Director of Business Development, who will also be presenting part of today's webinar, and Carrie Peters, our Marketing Manager. And lastly, there will be a larger question and answer session at the end of the webinar after the recording has concluded. So now on to today's topic. I know today's topic is not glamorous, but I truly believe that the knowledge you gained from today's webinar will empower you to make better decisions regarding IT management and increase your knowledge about IT services and support. So I will try my best to keep you engaged throughout the presentation. So let's move on and talk about what are managed services. So managed services is a term that while most people have heard the term, many of them do not know what it means. So in short, managed services is usually referred to the outsourcing of some or all aspects of a company's day-to-day operations related to technology. And the concept of outsourcing has received kind of a bad reputation over the last decade. It makes people think of the frustration they get when they call technical support. But outsourcing does not have to mean a reduction of customer service. In fact, outsourcing often frees up your business in order to focus on the things that matter most to your company. Usually that would be your customer. So managed services will outsource the laborious technical tasks, most of which can be automated, and let the business focus on important things. So what type of operations are considered managed services? Number one is security management. This pertains to the management of all aspects of network security, including protecting servers and workstations with the latest antivirus and anti-malware applications, software patching and maintenance, security updates, and other elements of risk prevention and security. The next aspect is networking and infrastructure. So this can include everything from the management of on-site infrastructure like servers, firewalls, switches, battery backups, to cloud infrastructure like cloud servers, wireless controllers, and any other cloud management systems. And this can all be done at various levels of service that are required for an individual company. Next is communication services and vendor management services. So many MSPs include the management of your data, your voice, and sometimes video as part of the total package that is provided. MSPs can also manage the interactions between you and your ISP, which is your internet service provider, your phone provider, or other line of business software providers. Next, managed services can also include software as a service. I'm sure you've heard this term a lot lately. Software as a service is when a software application is hosted and provided by your managed services provider and then offered to your company as needed on a subscription basis. Next is data analytics, and this would include the monitoring and recording of network data to use for planning for more effective and useful network solutions. These are tasks that are commonly performed by CIOs or CTOs in an enterprise business. And lastly is support services, and this is the most common provided service under the managed services umbrella. It is a help desk or technical support. This allows company employees to be able to call their managed services provider, email or otherwise submit trouble tickets, and have a technician remote into the user's machines to fix issues with hardware or software. This can also include on-site services for tasks that require hands-on support, such as hardware repair, servicing, or installation. So now let's move on and talk about what is an MSP. And no, I'm not talking about the airport code for Minneapolis-St. Paul. An MSP is a managed services provider. I know, as redundant as this may sound, a managed services provider is a company who provides a managed services offering. An MSP coordinates and runs all or part of a business's IT systems and networks. Managed services providers can remotely manage your company's systems and IT assets and can provide a variety of services that can range from basic monitoring of your IT network to being responsible for all repairs, updates, patching, and providing new software, hardware, infrastructure, and cloud services. And each MSP out there has a wildly different offering in their company. Now, while IT support companies mostly began in the late 1990s offering break-fix solutions, which is when you basically waited for a piece of equipment such as a server, firewall, desktop, something like that to fail, and then you just paid a company to fix or replace that piece of equipment. In the early 2000s, managed services providers began to arise, and that was a real philosophical change in the way businesses dealt with their technology needs. They moved from the break-fix to managed services companies to focus on prevention of issues before they arose and disrupted employees' productivity or servicing of clients. And today, no business can really rely on a break-fix solution because today's modern work processes depend too much on having a reliable IT system. And having different vendors for each product or service puts your company in a difficult position in determining who's required to be contacted to fix a certain issue. So managed services providers have encompassed handling all of those IT services under one umbrella and consolidating your vendors and providing a service that's easy and reliable to use. With a managed services provider, you typically enter into a service agreement for services. The service agreement will clarify the services you get in your monthly fee, which is usually a flat fee per user or per service. And working with an MSP is completely different than utilizing an on-site staff or paying by the hour for sporadic assistance. An MSP provides outsourced services to make your IT more efficient and effective so you can focus on other things. It basically shifts all of that off-premise. And a managed service is an important partner to their clients to enable them to reap the benefits of the latest technology without having to research it or purchase it themselves. And lastly, in addition, companies can utilize the expertise of their managed services provider to better strategize for the most effective use of IT to meet their specific business's objectives. So managed services are a very good choice for small to medium-sized businesses and as a whole. According to Microsoft, they did a survey in 2017 called the Small Business Insight Survey. And nearly half of the business owners identified their top challenge as staying ahead of the rapid changes in technology. Additionally, another 23% emphasized that budget constraints were top of mind when maintaining and growing their businesses. And other top concerns included enhancing security and having peace of mind over their IT functions. So often with small and medium-sized businesses, they either have overburdened IT staff who may lack skills or training for certain tasks or can't handle the entire company's network on their own, or they don't have an IT staff at all. So not only does IT outsourcing help by having a team of experts to troubleshoot and remediate your issues, clients benefit from having access to the latest technology and business-grade solutions that maintain their uptime and increase their profitability. With MSPs, you also gain what is called a virtual CIO, also known as a VCIO, and the role of a VCIO is critical in today's businesses now that the world is so centered around IT and technology. It helps you understand and manage the evolving technology landscape and allows companies to better plan for their long-term goals and scale their business. Now, one of the biggest values of managed services is a greater cost saving. IT budgets consist of many things, whether that's hardware, software, network infrastructure, or maintenance costs, just to name a few. So we will look first at how managed services help you have a more efficient, reliable, and scalable IT operation. With industry-specific expertise, knowledgeable staff, and state-of-the-art technology, MSPs can dramatically improve the efficiency of your company's IT operations. Because MSPs focus on and have expertise in a variety of customers in multiple verticals, an MSP can provide your company with a wide selection of options that are scalable to meet your growth needs. So in short, they can recommend and implement IT services for your company that they need currently and in the future. MSPs offer dependable help desk services to improve the reliability of your IT network. Employees will see a dramatic improvement in IT ticket resolution compared to waiting for help from in-house resources. Managed services providers also work to improve IT operations through monitoring services. So through the use of firewalls, server or workstation agents, and other tools, an MSP can proactively manage and oversee your IT's network performance. And leading managed services providers use the best technologies and equipment to deliver their services. They constantly upgrade them and change them with no additional cost or financial risk to their clients. So you never have to worry that your managed services will become obsolete. And then lastly, MSPs know that when your IT performance is being adversely affected or will be impacted in the near future. So, for example, your MSP will know when a critical piece of hardware is down or is experiencing issues, and will quickly take the necessary steps to resolve that situation to minimize any disruption to your business activities. Now, the next perk for small businesses for being a managed services provider client is IT cost savings and improved inventory managing and budget. So an MSP helps reduce or eliminate IT infrastructure and maintenance costs and the need for having dedicated on-site employees for IT. An MSP provides a substantial cost savings in both the short term and the long run. So, for example, the Federal Bureau of Labor and Statistics stated that last year in 2017, the average salary for a network administrator was $86,340. With the use of a managed services provider, you can receive an entire company's knowledge and service for the fraction of that yearly overhead. And MSPs offer flat fee plans. That way your company can easily get a handle on its overall monthly IT management costs. You'll be able to predict and prepare accurate monthly and annual IT budgets. An MSP can receive help desk troubleshooting, account and project management, infrastructure monitoring and security, and CTO-level analytics and consulting for less than the cost of one network admin to lower your expenditure and guarantee better and more accurate results. An MSP is a partner of your business, not merely a provider of services. An MSP is just as invested in your business and success as you are, because without happy and successful customers, MSPs would no longer be in business. So their success depends on their client's success. Next, we want to talk about MSP's cutting-edge cybersecurity. So that is one of the biggest things that people talk about these days is the cybersecurity risks with their current technology networks. And nothing really strikes greater fear in small businesses than that nightmare scenario of having their network being hacked or sensitive data being corrupted or stolen. And a managed services provider offers your company layers of the latest cybersecurity protection, whether that's through firewalls, applications, monitoring, filtering, or other protective measures. MSPs have the technology and the expertise to keep hackers out or to quickly rid your system of their presence if they manage to get through the layered defenses. And in this world where cyber threats are evolving, even if a cyber criminal does somehow manage to overcome your defenses, an MSP will have a robust backup of your company's critical data and applications to ensure the continuity of your business operations. Next, an MSP is valuable because of its updated IT and compliance requirements. Many companies these days fall under some sort of compliance or regulatory requirement, whether that be HIPAA, SEC, the PCI requirements. Some form of requirement usually falls into a category of into some managed or small business management needs. So an IT service provider can provide state-of-the-art technology portfolios and continuously help benefit your company without you having to research or implement it yourself. You can rest assured that all of the industry-specific security and compliance requirements are being accounted for and met, basically acting as your compliance consultant. And lastly, the biggest reason to use managed services and a managed services provider is peace of mind. So a great MSP will make a strong emphasis to its clients regarding disaster backup and business continuity. Because more than anything, a managed services provider wants its customers to have that peace of mind. With these services, your management team and employees can rest easy knowing that all of your important data and business applications are comprehensively backed up at a secure remote location. And in the event of a harmful man-made or natural disaster, your MSP can quickly restore those operations with the backed up data and applications, and your business will not suffer the consequences from any costly downtime. You can consider this benefit in terms of cybersecurity. So in the unlikely event that a cyber criminal gets into your system, and your data and applications can be restored back to a point before the corruption occurred. This means your company will not suffer downtime, and you will not necessarily have to pay any costly fees if you are infected with ransomware. So a complete backup and business continuity plan provides you peace of mind knowing that you never have to worry about losing any of your data. So moving on, here at OnPar Technologies, we believe that we provide one of the most robust managed services offerings in the business. So to continue today's webinar, I'm going to pass off the presentation to Donna Hall, our Director of Business Development, to take a look at the components of our monthly managed services offering.
Thanks, Emily. I appreciate it. So good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate you joining us today. So, at the very basis of managed services, you're going to have device management. So everybody's going to have this offering. So this is nothing different. It's, we are going to put our agent on your on-premise servers, on your Azure cloud servers, on your workstations. Basically, the agent is provided through ConnectWise Automate, which is formerly LabTech. And what it does is it allows us to be able to push out software updates, security patching for Microsoft, antivirus, web protection, anti-malware, those type of applications to your endpoints, to your servers, and keep those protected at all times. So Bitdefender is the antivirus that is pushed out through ConnectWise Automate, and it's used by about 500 million people worldwide. So it's one of the top antivirus products out there. And it sits on your systems, and every 15 minutes it goes out and it looks for new definitions, and if it sees new stuff out there, it pulls those in. So it's a very effective antivirus software in protecting systems. So, if you're using a managed service provider or not using a managed service provider, and you're looking for one, at the very basis, everybody's going to provide this type of product. We're going to provide critical security patches for Microsoft. we're going to be able to, through our agent, we're going to be able to log into your systems and take over from a remote perspective when allowed to be able to fix an end user problem. We're able to remote into servers and take care of issues. It also sends us information on those devices. So we're able to provide, it gives us metrics. We will see if a hard drive is beginning to fail, if a hard drive is beginning to become full. It will give us all kinds of metrics. So we can do inventory reports for you, which we do for our clients on a regular basis. It gives us a lot of information that you wouldn't otherwise have if you didn't have a managed service provider or if you didn't implement this software yourself. And most people who are in an environment of usually less than 500 employees are not going to spend the money to do this themselves. So our agent, when we onboard you, we get this on every system and we make sure that it's fully implemented with our applications and it's doing its job in the background, and it automates things so you don't have to worry about it and we don't have to worry about it. And if something it'll give us an alert if there is something that we need to check. The second phase of managed services in what we offer is our network infrastructure management. So we're going to monitor your firewalls. We're going to take care of switching, backing up those configs, that sort of thing, your wireless network, battery backup devices, and data storage. And we do standardize on these pieces and parts in your network. So if you came to us and you had just purchased a firewall that we don't manage, that would be okay. I mean, we wouldn't turn you away for that, but we are a Meraki and SonicWall shop. So we do partner with those two vendors, and the reason we do that is, we've looked at all kinds of different devices and all kinds of different vendors, and you have to pick the ones that are most prevalent in the marketplace and the ones that you're going to that your customer base is going to benefit the most from, and the ones that you can sell and support and have a good price point. And there's several different reasons that you pick a partner, but you really can't support every firewall that's out there. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. We met with a prospect yesterday, and they had a firewall, and honestly, I can't remember the name of it. It was one I'd never heard of, and I didn't write it down, and there's absolutely no way we can support that. If they come on as a managed client, they will have to put in a Meraki or a SonicWall, and it's simply because, we can't support something that we have never seen or heard of, because it's just not, it's not a good use of our time or theirs. And the other piece of that is, we have support contracts on those firewalls as well, and a lot of times clients will say, well, your engineer had to call the vendor, and why didn't they know this? Well, we can't know everything, and us calling the vendor is not a bad thing. And because we want to resolve your problem in the most efficient, quickest way possible. Because if you have a problem with the firewall, you could potentially have issues. You could potentially be down. You could potentially have users down that can't do work. So we are not averse to calling a vendor. And if we call a vendor, we want to make sure that we have a great partnership with them, so that we've got the gold level certification, so that we can get into support very quickly. And so we pick partners that are the best of the business, the best of breed, and the ones that we've vetted and feel like that are easy to implement, so that it doesn't cost you a lot for us to implement, easy to manage. And if you have internal staff that want to learn how to manage those as well, or if you don't, then that's okay as well. So we will also, implement wireless networks. A lot of times we go into an environment and we'll see that they've just kind of piecemealed those together and built those up over time, and they've gone to Best Buy and, put in routers here and there, and they really haven't put in a mesh network like they should. So we will go in and we'll either put in a Ubiquiti or a Meraki, depending upon the need. And if they have an on-premise server, then by all means they need battery backup. They need battery backup for switches and firewalls and things like that. So we are going to make sure that those battery backups are not only installed and that the things are plugged into them properly, and that they're under maintenance, and that we're actually managing those. Data storage is another piece of the puzzle that we manage, and that is rapidly changing on a daily basis, since data storage, data sprawl is all over the place these days. It can be on premise, it can be in the cloud, it can be in somebody's thumb drive and in their pocketbook. So it's really about how do we design policies around that and make sure that that they know where their data is and how it is being managed and how it is being backed up. So we want to have those conversations around the management of that and getting that in one place, because you want to know where that data is at all times and how it's being stored and how it's being backed up. That brings us to our disaster recovery and backup. If you have on-premise servers, one thing that we do require is a backup, disaster recovery and backup solution. And we use Datto as a physical device for on-site and cloud virtualization. We are a cloud-first company. We have lots and lots of clients that have Azure Cloud, and their servers are in the cloud. They are backing up in the cloud at file level, and then they are replicating to a secondary data center in Azure. We also have clients who still have on-premise servers, and if they do, then this Datto device, what it does is it does a replication on-site of their servers. It's a full image, and they can fail over to that device. It also does a full image to the cloud. So if their server goes down, or let's say they have 4 servers and one server goes down, and they can fail over to this device in a matter of minutes and continue working. If their whole office is gone, or they have a water main break, or the hurricane comes through and knocks the building over, they can fail over to the cloud and operate in the cloud on virtual servers at no additional charge for 30 days until they have gotten their physical servers back up or decided to move to a full cloud environment. So, and it's really an affordable solution. It's a true disaster recovery solution with Datto. And again, if you are a managed client of ours and you have on-premise servers, then that is a requirement. And the reason it's not that we're just being sticklers and making you buy something. It's because you will thank us if you ever need it, because you avoid data loss, you avoid downtime, and it's ransomware. If you get, we've had clients that, I'll give you a perfect example of this. We had a client that we were bringing on as a managed service client. They were still with their current vendor, and they had come on with us as a backup client, and they had been with us as a backup client for a couple of months, and they were getting out of their other contract as a managed service provider, and they got ransomware on their servers. And we were able to restore them back to a certain point with their Datto device. And they weren't down. They were only down for maybe 30, 45 minutes tops. And it really didn't cost them much money at all. It didn't cost them anything from a ransomware. It just really cost them some time with us. And that was simply because we had to do some they failed over to the device and worked, and then we had to restore them back over the weekend, and so they had to pay us some money to do that because they weren't our client yet. But all in all, it probably cost them less than $1,000 to do that. And had they not had that data, it's untelling what their spend would have been. So they're a great case study for us in that. And if you can go to the Microsoft cloud or any cloud with your applications, you definitely want to do that. We're a big proponent of that. It just takes a lot of the headache out of the way. As we're also one of the largest Office 365 partners in the country and the biggest in the East. So we're a big proponent of backup of that. And we include this in our managed service offering. So if you have Office 365 and you come on with us, then we're going to include a backup of the Exchange, the SharePoint, the OneDrive, and the Teams, because we've seen what happens when you don't have that. A lot of people are under the impression that if it's in the cloud, it doesn't need to be backed up, and that's just, that's incorrect. It still does. It's if you have email in the cloud and someone deletes it, it's only held on Microsoft servers for 14 days, and after that, it's gone. There's no getting it back. It's not in a secondary data center. It's nowhere. I can't call Bill Gates and say, hey, I need to get this back. It's not there. It's gone. We're not hiding it. We're not keeping it from you. We just can't get it back. So if you have this third-party solution, this backup, then we can get it back. SharePoint Online, a lot of people think, oh, it's got multiple iterations. We're never going to delete those. But if somebody deletes an entire SharePoint site and you have to restore those files one at a time, you'll be kicking yourself and that person because you had to restore those files one at a time. It's very painful, and we've had people do it that have had to do it that way. It doesn't cost very much for any of this. When you get right down to the cost per gig, it's very, very inexpensive, and protecting your data is one thing that we're very big proponents of in our managed service offering. And I think with us offering this type of service in our managed service does make us a little bit different because we are such a big Office 365 partner. Not everybody's offering that type of service in their managed service offering. Our next piece is software as a service. In our managed service offering, we do offer Microsoft 365. And this is different than Office 365. Yes, Microsoft does like to make things a little bit confusing. But 12 years ago, Microsoft came out with this great product called BPOS. We started selling it, and it didn't really take off. They renamed it to Office 365, and wow, it took off like a wildfire, and we've been selling it ever since. And then last year they decided, well, Office 365 is doing great, and Enterprise Mobility Suite's doing great, and Windows 10 is doing great. Let's combine all those and call it Microsoft 365. And yes, it's confusing everyone because they've got Office 365 and now they've got Microsoft 365, and nobody really knows the difference. But we are including Microsoft 365 in our managed service offering now. And what that gets you is it gets you an Office 365 product, and depending upon your size and your need, it would depend on if you get Business Premium or if you get E3 or E5. It really just depends on your need and based on our assessment of your need. But at minimum, you would get Business Premium, and in that you get mobile device management, which is Intune. And if you haven't played with that product at all, or if you aren't familiar with that, what Intune does is it allows you to manage your devices, your mobile devices, your laptops, your phones, iPhones, Androids, And if one is lost, you can remote wipe those. You can do a lot of things with Intune. If you bump on up to the E3 or E5s, then you get the full-blown EMS suite, which is just a ton of other features that allow you to push out mobile apps to phones and do a lot more of security features. We're also including the spam filtering, the advanced threat protection, and again, the enterprise mobility suite, depending upon what you choose or what your need is for your business. But it is, again, this sets us apart because not every managed service provider put their feet in the water to jump into the Office 365 offering like we did, because they didn't see the value of Office 365 when it came out 12 years ago. And that is such a huge part of our managed service offering. Doesn't mean if you're using Google and you love Google that we wouldn't put you on managed services, but it does mean that it might limit us to how we could support you in that offering because of us being an Office 365 partner. And that's, again, what we've chosen, the path we've chosen to support, because that's where we find the most value for our clients. Vendor management is another big part of what we offer in our managed service offering. The one thing we don't want your end users sitting there trying to decide who they need to call when they have an issue or who they need to reach out to. So if they have a problem with if they're sitting there working and all of a sudden they can't get to a line of business application, they don't know if it's an internet service problem. They don't know if it's a QuickBooks problem or a computer problem. They most of them have no idea, and we don't want them to have to think about, should I call Spectrum? Should I call Intuit? Should I call OnPar? They really should just reach out to OnPar. And the way we do this is we document everything. When we bring you on, we document everything in our system. And we ask that you reach out to your internet service provider and your phone service provider and your line of business applications provider, and you put us on your accounts. Now, obviously, you've got to have valid support agreements with those line of business applications providers, because that's how we're going to get that support if we need it. We're not experts in all these, but we will be your liaison. So if you have a QuickBooks problem, if you're using QuickBooks and you have a QuickBooks problem, you don't need to spend an hour and a half of your time on the phone with Intuit or chatting with Intuit. We can help you with that. We can speak the tech speak, and we will take on the ownership of that. If your phone provider, if you're a RingCentral or 8x8 or whomever you choose, if you need to set up a new user, we have lots of clients that use RingCentral and we're familiar with that interface. Why have somebody that's not their job fumble through that and do that when we can do that for you? So there's lots of things that we take on from a vendor management standpoint. Again, we want to be that one-stop shop for your users, and all they have to know is that, hey, we may not be able to fix the problem ourselves because we are the liaison between us and that third party, but we're going to resolve their issue. They don't have to think about it, and they don't have to worry about it because they're just going to put in a request to us, and we're going to get back to them and let them know that it's been resolved. Another service that we've just added in the last year is dark web ID monitoring. And this, a lot of people, they hear about this on TV that, oh, you can have your personal, ID monitored and all that. Well, this is web ID monitoring for your business, for your URL. So if Donna.Hall@onpartech.com shows up on the dark web, we're going to know it. So if I go out and I use my work email say I go to LinkedIn and I use my work email, donna.hall@allpartech.com, and I use my work credentials that I use to log in to all of my software as a service applications and my Azure and everything else. If I go out and I use those credentials to log into LinkedIn and LinkedIn gets compromised and that information goes on the dark web, then the chances of your network getting compromised are quite high. And that has happened. Not to Donna Hall, because I don't do that, because I work in the industry and I know better, but 80%, there's stats out there that show this, 80% of every person that works in a company will use their company email and their company credentials because they're lazy, and B, they can't remember their passwords, and they will use those credentials on websites, i.e. Facebook, i.e. Netflix, i.e. Amazon, and they will use those credentials to log in. Well, when those get hacked, and they're every day, you hear that 250 million people's credentials were hacked at Target, or 180 million people were hacked at so-and-so's, every day it's something new. Then those are going on the dark web for sale. Well, what this report does is it is scanning your URL for those credentials, and we can't remove them off the dark web, but if it finds something out there, then at least you can tell this person to go and change their password right away. Now, we're going to implement things in your environment to where they should be changing their password on a routine basis anyway. We're going to implement multi-factor authentication so that if their stuff is out there, that someone should not be able to get into your network. But this is just another tool in the toolbox that lets us know kind of what your people are actually doing. Again, it's included in our managed service offering, and it helps us give us some insight and gives you some insight that you wouldn't otherwise have of what your users are actually doing with their credentials. Help desk and remote support. So this is, everybody provides this as well. What I feel like that not everybody does as well as we do with this is that we track our response, initial response times. Every day at noon and every day at 5, I get a report that tells us how quickly we are responding to our clients' requests, how quickly we have begun to work on their issue. Our standard SLA is 4 hours. So and that's for critical, but it's really across the board. We try to, anything that you put in, we try to really, critical is 1 hour. I apologize, but standard's 4. That's across the board, but it's rarely ever takes us that long. Today it was 28 minutes, and that's not an email that you're getting from our system. It is us actually saying, hey, we're ready to work on your problem, or we are working on your problem in 28 minutes. And that's pretty unheard of in our industry, to not only know what our times are twice a day, but to actually have them below a 30-minute window, and that's pretty fast for us to be working on your issue. And so how it works is when your issue comes in to us, you don't actually go to a technical resource. It comes in, and if you call in or if you chat or if you email, it's going to go to the person that's best able to solve the problem. So you don't go to a level 1 or level 2 or level 3. You're not going to go to a level 1. They're going to triage, and then they're going to bump it up to a level 2, and you're going to deal with all these people. You're going to go to the person that can best resolve your problem the first time, because that's going to make you happy. That's going to make us happy. We don't want it to be sitting out here for 5 days and you're pulling your hair out, and it takes us 8 hours to fix an issue over a 5-day period. Nope. We want to fix your problem fast, get you back to work, and move on to the next client. So if you call into us, you're going to go into the queue. You're going to get a ticket put in just the same as if you emailed us. So it can get triaged and get to the right technical resource, and that technical resource is going to contact you back and start working on the issue. So it doesn't matter to us how you contact us, but a lot of people think if they call in, they're going to get faster. They're not. Typically, you're going to get faster if you don't call in to us. You probably get helped a lot faster because it doesn't tie us up, and we can get those tickets triaged a lot faster if you just put them in through our agent. That will be sitting on an icon on your desktop. So we do provide help desk remote support. It's included in our managed service contract, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and critical after hours up until about 10 o'clock. Now, a lot of people say, well, why don't you provide 24/7? Well, the way we set up our managed services is you really don't need 24/7 support. And the reason you don't need that is because things don't really break. I mean, if you're in the cloud and you're keeping things updated, then you really don't need 24/7 support. If you have that many problems today, then we have to get to the root of what's causing those problems for you to have to call into a remote support desk on a 24/7 basis. So if you need 24/7, then, maybe you really need it, and we may not be the managed service provider for you. But most of the time, if people say they're having that many issues, then there's more of an issue there that's not being addressed. And what our systems try to do is diagnose what is the actual problem that's causing the issues to begin with, and try to make your environment more stable, because we want your systems to be up and available to you at all times, and we will be available to you up until about 10 o'clock for criticals. After that, it would be the next morning. On-site support is not included in our managed service offering. And the reason being is most people really don't need on-site support very often. We can, actually jack up our rates and charge you an on-site support fee and come out very rarely. We try to keep our rates low for you, and if we need to come on site, we bill that from a block of time, and it saves you money, and it just works for everybody, really, and our customers have really liked that. We do go on site. We have customers all over the country. We have managed service clients in Florida, in Maryland, in Illinois, in Indiana, in Georgia. We have them all over, and we go on site. We can roll a truck in any state, and we do that through a partner that we have. In North Carolina, you're probably going to get an on-par resource, and in Michigan, you're probably going to get an on-par resource, but you don't have to pay for it up front. You'll only pay for what you use. And our remote support is 8x5 unlimited Monday through Friday, and the critical is as well, but the on-site support is billable. So if you're interested in getting started, like I said, we do have some requirements. We have to do an assessment to understand what we're getting into before we can actually give you a price. And we can throw some numbers at you, but we're not going to know what we're getting into until we actually do an assessment. Workstations, if they're a couple of years old and running Windows 7, then our Microsoft 365 includes Windows 10, so we would upgrade those to Windows 10 Pro for you. If they're 4 or 5 years old, you probably need to replace those anyway to Windows 10 Pro. So we're standardizing on Windows 10 Pro because Windows 7 is going end of life. Servers, 2012 or newer, and Office 365 hosted Exchange. Again, if you're running Google, that's okay. We would try to move you away from that unless there's a good business case for you to stay in that environment. So again, if you want to stay in that environment, you just have to understand that there's not much that we can do to support you because it's just not something that we do. And that's our managed service offering. And so I am Donna Hall. I am the Business Growth Specialist, Director of Business Development, and you can reach me if you want to sign up for an assessment. Feel free to reach out to me at sales@onpartech.com. We'll be glad to talk more about how we could help you. And Emily, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Donna. So that does conclude today's webinar. So what I'm going to do now is stop the recording so we can do a live question and answer session.